Hello beautiful people, welcome to another video. It's been a while since I've been at my desk filming a video, but I got up relatively early today. I got to clean up a bit. My desk was probably the messiest, so I feel like now I'm ready to film some videos here. So right now I am just making some flashcards for my CNA class, which is technically over, but probably midway through the class I started making flashcards for my skills, and I made flashcards for the medical terminology, and I just kind of stopped after a while. But if you wanted to take this kind of hack that I'm doing, it's basically breaking down this major skills, all these a lot of words, into just simple one word or two word prompts, and just making it simple overall to remember. By now, because I finished the class, we've done 2 mock skills tests and I've passed both. I feel relatively confident in each skill, but since the state skills test that I'm taking is a month later, or a little less than a month now, I want to make sure that I'm actively recalling. So whereas I'm more likely to remember by doing, and I will be kind of creating simulations in my head, I do want to actually go through and write out all the skills and kind of just have them on hand. I don't expect to be studying every single day, but just to have them. So what is this video about maybe? So this video is going to be just kind of a recap and reflection beyond my CNA clinicals, and just reflecting on the whole experience, just reflecting on kind of what I've learned, what I've noticed, and some tips and tricks that I might want to share with other people who are pursuing CNA. So first off the bat, becoming a CNA is really not for the weak, and I don't say weak in as a negative term. I mean you're dealing with people at some of them at their lowest, right? And regardless of the environment that you plan on being, whether it's a hospital or whether it's a nursing home, you really have to have empathy, and you really have to have a level of respect for the people that you plan on serving, because being a CNA, you see people in very vulnerable positions, especially when you're cleaning them, changing them, showering them, bathing them. You see things that probably even their own families aren't gonna see, and you might get to know them in ways that, again, even their own families don't get to know them. And I think it's really important to be sensitive to that. I know during my clinical kind of reflections each day, I was saying things there are people who are going to treat being a CNA as just a job, and over time it might get easy to treat the patients that you have just as a job. Especially if you're burnt out, you might lose the personal factor. And I just want to caution that from the beginning of recognize your limits and know when it is time to either step back or learn how to recalibrate with each shift that you have. Especially if you're working in a nursing home, I think you're going to be dealing with a lot more death than maybe a CNA in a hospital. But regardless, definitely know and recognize that empathy, sympathy are necessary for this role. You are most likely, depending on where you are, going to be cleaning patients, a lot of bodily fluids, bodily excrements, and it's not glamorous, it's not fun. For myself, at least during clinicals and from my previous training, I found it relatively easy to just kind of steel myself against it. Yes, it's gross, but it's natural. It is what it is, right? I liken a lot of my experiences with at the nursing home to working at a daycare, and I don't mean it in terms of personalities, I don't mean it in terms of behavior necessarily, But, you know, when I worked at a daycare, I had to clean children's diapers. It was gross. You still had to deal with it, right? There's a level of vulnerability there. There's a level of dependency there. And especially as grown adults, they don't necessarily want to be dependent on you. And it's important not to treat the elderly, or regardless, whatever population, any patient, as a child, unless they are a child, right? But not treating them as if they're someone that you are obligated to take care of in a way that's negative. Like, not making them feel like they're a burden to you, not making them feel like they're the ones who did this to themselves necessarily. And this goes beyond just being a CNA. It goes into all aspects of nursing and medicine. Just like realizing that people are people at the end of the day. And I recognize that depending on the environment where you are, there is a level of potentially becoming burnt out because of ratios that are really high, or because of, you know, workplace drama or workplace just harassment or whatever. And those are things, unfortunately, that might come with the territory depending on where you are. But I would implore anyone who wants to become a CNA to really just try to be mindful of the person in front of you. You know, during our class, we were often said, like, what if that was you as a patient? How would you want to be treated? Or what if that was your family member on the bed in front of you? How would you want them? How would you want to treat them, or for them to be treated? And so those are both very important things to consider. If you are kind of pursuing this because you need it for your particular program, like I need 100 healthcare hours. However, I don't actually need the CNA specifically. It's a very common route, which is why I think I pursued it, and also because they do tend to get paid a little more in my area, and so I want to be able to elevate like that. However, don't let that be your sole motivation. A lot of people who were in my particular class were going for the sake of wanting to earn more money, and that's perfectly valuable, or wanting to be able to take care of their own loved ones, and again, that's valuable. So know your why, but also know that the people that you're treating are people, they're individuals. There is merit and value in treating them like a human being, regardless of their personality, regardless of their behavior. Try not to become super impatient with them, and just realize that everyone has their own quirks. I think I definitely noticed that at the nursing home. There was one person whose med had been gradually decreased, which apparently is a thing that has to happen, unfortunately, and his aspects of his personality were just really negative. And for me, I think because of just the time we live in, I kind of just laughed it off. And it wasn't me laughing at him necessarily, it was just like laughing at the scenario, but at the same time being very like understanding that this is something he has no control over. Of course, his beliefs are his beliefs, and you know, his personality quirks are his, but recognizing that something like having his medication dosage lowered kind of without his consent or without his control is not something that is fair to him. And so in that, I could have empathy. And he wasn't directly aggressive against me. He did say some things that were harmful, generally, but am I going to hold it against him? Am I going to treat him any negatively or worse because of that? No. If he was outwardly combative, I would probably have distanced myself, but he was just saying things verbally. There were people who didn't have control over their words and the words that they said. And so, like, we don't necessarily want to be permissive of bad behavior, but we also want to be understanding of there are various factors that can affect any one person, psychologically, chemically, physiologically. And if you are in the if you're in a space where you don't know too much about those things, especially about behavioral things, I would implore you to take the time to learn. Otherwise, you are going to take everything personally. I think with lack of knowledge, it's very easy to be overly judgmental or overly, like, again, take things personally when you don't know about biology or you don't know about behavioral health. And so, if you are someone pursuing or wanting to pursue anything in the medical field, take some time to learn about behavioral health. You can learn it through observation, depending on your city or your area. You can volunteer in a certain place, you can take a course, you can take a class, you can find things on YouTube and online for free. Like, don't limit yourself to one perspective. And I think that's also a very big realization for me as well. I consider myself someone who has a very open perspective, but allow yourself to explore other aspects and avenues of life, regardless of your religion, regardless of your thoughts about life and the afterlife and just your perspective on things. Allow yourself to be a little open to what other people believe and understand about the world, and try to understand their perspectives as well. I really feel like being a CNA is a lot like customer service, and I've worked in multiple customer service roles. Like, you really need to understand people, and I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, regardless of the medicine involved. It's about people. And so take time to understand people and to learn about people. And in terms of time management, in terms of task management, learn when to slow down, learn when to manage, and create strategies as necessary, right? Whether you're in a hospital or a nursing home, you often receive a certain patient load, right? And so it might take some time before you learn how certain patients are or residents are, but over time, develop a strategy that's going to help you get things done in an effective and efficient way. And learn to move according to the moods and the personalities of the patients and residents that you're dealing with. Now, in a nursing home, you're more likely to have more long-term people that you can kind of learn their behavior over time. And so you might figure out their routines, and you might decide, okay, this is the way I'm going to do this particular unit each time I'm here, because I know and I have an idea of what each person needs. And with a patient load, of course, it does vary. Sometimes it can be like a constant rotation on a daily basis, but navigate around how the person you're dealing with is, and being able to walk into a patient room, maybe after a short interaction, you can kind of already see what the vibe is. If it's negative, don't necessarily treat them according to that, because they might just be having a bad morning, they might be having a bad thought, they might not have heard you and so they didn't respond, they might be thinking very deeply about something. So once again, don't take things so personally. That's very important and very critical. So yeah, like, those are some things I learned over just the past week. For myself, I think I also learned that I might not be cut out to do this full time. I did recently apply to a per diem position. It's in a more fast-paced environment. No, I do not technically have my certification yet, but on the application, they were open to people who had their registration, which I do have. And I do obviously plan on getting my certification very soon. And if I am able to get that job, I feel like I would be very pleased with it. Having worked in different areas in my own hospital that I work at, I know that each unit is very different, and I think the role of a CNA varies significantly depending on the unit you're on. And this particular role was for an emergency department, which is definitely very fast-paced, but at the same time, I think that the roles might be very different, slightly different than, for example, the patient that goes up to med-surg or the ICU or various places. So if I'm able to get it, you guys will definitely hear about it. But yeah, I'm really hoping it works out. It's like a per diem all shifts job, and so I'm hoping that I can pick up like several morning shifts or something, that will allow me to earn my 100 clinical hours. With that particular requirement, I do need to earn them within 3 months. So yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult, but we'll see. I should also be starting to like study my various subjects for nursing school. I did order 2 more books today. I ordered one on microbiome, and I ordered one on another anatomy and physiology one that was more like an all-in-one textbook, whereas the one I have up here is just a workbook. So yeah, I'm in a little period of rest now after my CNA class, after just my classes in general are now over. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break and kind of ease myself into studying for my classes, or classes studying my prerequisites, and getting myself back into that space of like, okay, this is what I need to know, and yeah, I'm excited. I am looking at like multiple jobs, roles, and stuff, and things are just a little rocky at the moment. So I'm exploring different avenues, I'm looking at different things, and you guys will be seeing some different videos from me depending on how things go. I might do a little more lifestyle videos, especially if I get to like travel around my city and take videos and stuff. Otherwise, you'll probably see some like study with me videos. But as I said, I'm trying to kind of wait and see how my schedule stabilizes, and I want to kind of get into a certain rhythm before I start studying and doing various things. I do have a friend who is currently doing prereqs as well, so I think I would like to be able to kind of study with her. I know she's starting microbiome in a few weeks, and I want to be her study buddies, which is why I'm getting my microbiome. And it has been several years since I reviewed it, so I'm gonna kind of learn with her, and then hopefully we'll be able to kind of get through this together. But yeah, so I hope you guys like this video. Definitely let me know down below in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to see from me, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions. My next video, if I don't think of one in between now and then, should be on like kind of a vlog style video about my state test in July, and if there's anything that comes up before then, or once again any like comments or things that come up before then, I will definitely let you guys know or make a video on it. So see you guys, bye.